History is written by the victors, which usually means the villains get painted as total monsters. But if you look past the evil laughs and the dramatic capes,
no capes.
Some of them were actually spitting facts. And honestly, sometimes the villains have better character development than the heroes. They have origin stories, motivations, and philosophical frameworks that actually make sense when you break them down. Meanwhile, the heroes are just heroes because the script says so. Here are 3 times the cartoon villain was actually right, starting with Syndrome from The Incredibles.
Can you fly?
Fly home, buddy. I work alone.
Oui, et ta tenue est complètement ridicule!
Just give me one chance.
Yikes. Never meet your heroes, kids, because they might just crush your dreams and turn you into a supervillain. And let's talk about that moment for a second. Buddy is what? 10 years old? He's a child genius who invented rocket boots in his garage. This kid has more ambition and technical skill than most adults. And Mr. Incredible's response isn't, "Come back when you're older," or "Keep training." It's a straight-up dismissal. He didn't even learn the kid's real name.
Buddy!
My name is Incrediboy.
Look, I've been nice. I've stood for photos, signed every scrap of paper you pushed at me, but this...
That's not heroic behavior. That's just being a jerk to a fan. We all know Syndrome as the guy who kidnaps babies and murders superheroes for sport. But if you look at his core philosophy, he's actually the most progressive character in the movie.
No one will be.
That sounds evil when he says it with the creepy chuckle, but think about what he's actually proposing. The world of The Incredibles is a genetic aristocracy. You are either born super or you're a nobody. It doesn't matter how smart or hardworking you are. If you didn't win the genetic lottery, you are a second-class citizen. Think about growing up in that world. You study hard, you work out, you dedicate your life to helping people. But when disaster strikes, everyone looks past you and waits for someone with the right DNA to show up. Your worth as a person is literally determined by your genes. That's not a meritocracy. That's eugenics with better branding. Mr. Incredible represents the old guard who thinks power is a birthright. Syndrome, on the other hand, represents meritocracy. He has 0 powers. Everything he can do, he built himself. He's basically Elon Musk with a cape fetish and better hair. His plan was to sell his invention so that everyone could be super. He wanted to democratize power and level the playing field. He proved that intelligence and technology could rival biological superiority. And here's the thing, he actually succeeded. He created technology that could match and even surpass natural superpowers. That's incredible. In any other movie, he'd be Tony Stark. He'd be the genius who proves that human ingenuity can overcome any obstacle. But because he's bitter about being rejected, we're supposed to hate him. Maybe if Mr. Incredible had just been nice to a kid, none of this would have happened. Was he a mass murderer? Yes, absolutely. But was he right that the supers were an exclusive club of elitist jerks who needed a reality check? 100%. Syndrome wanted to dismantle a system where power is determined by birth, which is exactly what Scar was trying to do in The Lion King. He's not wrong, especially when you live in a kingdom run by a hereditary absolute monarchy.
Life's not fair, is it? You see, I shall never be king. And you shall never see the light of another day. And you.
We all love Mufasa because he has the voice of Darth Vader and gives nice speeches about the stars. But let's look at his actual policies. He runs a segregationist state where the lions are at the top of the food chain, literally and metaphorically. Look at the hyenas. Mufasa banished an entire species to a literal graveyard where they are starving to death. Why? Because they aren't lions. And nobody questions this. Simba grows up thinking this is normal. Dad, why do we get to eat the antelope but the hyenas can't? Because they're different, son. Now go practice your roar. It's literal species-based discrimination, and it's treated as the natural order.
Let me tell you something that my father told me. Look at the stars, the great kings of the past. look down on us from those stars.
Really?
Yes. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you. And so will I.
The circle of life is just propaganda to justify an oppressive regime. That is textbook systemic oppression. Scar is the only one who looks at this caste system and says, hey, maybe we should change this. I know the imagery here is, let's say, historically problematic, but Scar's actual grievance is that Mufasa rules through brute strength rather than intelligence. Scar even says, as far as brains go, I got the lion's share. He represents the intellectual who is pushed aside by the jock because the system values muscle over mind. Scar is the second-born son who will never inherit the throne.
Go with the commoners.
Sarabi and I didn't see you at the presentation of Simba.
That was today? Oh, I feel simply awful.
No matter how qualified he is, and then his brother has a son, which pushes Scar even further down the line of succession.
Is my son and your future king.
Oh,
He's literally watching his entire future disappear because of an accident of birth order. In human terms, that's primogeniture, a system we abandoned because we realized it was deeply unfair. He integrated the hyenas into society and promised them food. Sure, he eventually turned the Pride Lands into a dust bowl because he didn't understand crop rotation or ecosystems. But politically, he was leading a revolution against a tyrant who hoarded resources for the 1%. The problem wasn't his political philosophy, it was his environmental policy. If Scar had hired an advisor who understood sustainable resource management, the Pride Lands would have been fine. His downfall wasn't moral, it was ecological. That's not a character flaw, that's a skill gap. Scar ruined his kingdom by ignoring the laws of nature, whereas Chef Skinner from Ratatouille was the only one trying to enforce the laws of sanitation.
And bro, he's right.
I feel like we gaslight ourselves every time we watch this movie. Skinner is painted as this greedy, angry little man. But let's look at the facts. He runs a 5-star restaurant in Paris, and he finds out that the soup is being cooked by a rat. Not a cartoon rat, a street rat. Do you know what diseases rats carry? Salmonella, hantavirus, leptospirosis, add plague, typhus, and about a dozen parasitic infections to that list. Rats are literally vectors for some of the deadliest diseases in human history. The Black Death was spread by rats. And we're supposed to think Skinner is the bad guy for not wanting them in his kitchen. The man is trying to prevent the next pandemic. If you went to a Michelin star restaurant and found a rat hair in your soup, you wouldn't think it was whimsical. You would call the health department and burn the building down. He is reacting the way any responsible business owner would.
what are you playing at?
Am I still fired?
You can fire him.
What?
Leclerc likes it.
Linguini is a garbage boy with zero culinary training. Skinner worked his way up from sous chef to run this empire. He cares about health codes, professional standards, and not poisoning his customers. And for that, the movie treats him like a villain. Let's also acknowledge that Skinner is actually protecting Gusteau's legacy. He's selling frozen food, sure, but that keeps the brand alive and employs people. Meanwhile, Linguini and Remy are literally committing health code violations every single day. The only reason the restaurant survives the health inspection at the end is because the critic happens to like the food. That's not justice, that's luck. When he calls the health inspector, the rats literally tie the inspector up and throw him in the freezer. That is a felony. Skinner was the only person in this entire movie who was actually doing his job. He lost his restaurant and his reputation, but let's be real. He was the only thing standing between Paris and a massive plague outbreak. Sometimes the villain is just a guy trying to follow the rules, while the hero breaks every single one of them. And that's the real lesson here. We root for the underdog. We love the rebel. We celebrate characters who break the system. But sometimes, the system exists for a reason. Sometimes the rules are there to protect people. And sometimes, the villain is just someone who looked at the chaos the hero created and said, yeah, this isn't going to end well.